YouTube, it's Missy, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my March wrap-up along with weeks 11, 12, and 13. 11 and 12 I did not read anything, but week 13 I read a lot, so I'm really excited that I was able to cram and finish the books that I wanted to before the deadline, which was last night. So let's get started. Before I talk about the books that I have with me right now, I did read The Kneebone Boy, which was week 9, and I have the review for it. I will leave the link down below. I also did a review on The Red Necklace, which was a audiobook that I listened to on YouTube, narrated by the gorgeous Tom Hiddleston. And I have a very long, disgusting gush fest of this book. It's a historical fiction set in France during the French Revolution. That's the word. Anyways, that video will be linked down below as well. So the next book that I read is Edward Scissorhands Volume 1, which is Parts Unknown. This is a graphic novel, which is kind of like the sequel to the Edward Scissorhands movie. You get to meet the granddaughter of Kim, I believe is her name. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's the girl in the movie, and she's the one who kisses Edward at the end of the movie. Anyways, we get to read about her granddaughter and her meeting Edward for the first time and realizing that the stories that she's heard of her grandmother is real, and Edward is a real person, and it's not some fantasy that her grandma made up. So I did like it. Like I said, I got it from NetGalley. It is there right now. It's in the Read Now section, and then you have to download it to your computer. It's only 100 pages. It was really fast to read. I really enjoyed the drawings or the illustrations in the graphic novel. It was reminiscent of like Rocko's Modern Life from 90s Nickelodeon, and I really enjoyed that. The storyline, however, was just, it was okay. The storyline was of 3, but the drawings put the graphic novel to a 4, so I did enjoy it. The next book that I finished was the buddy read with Sylvia over at Wish Fulfillment, and that was Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. This, my friends, I don't know what people see that is so negative about this book. It was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. It's Southern Gothic, which I love. It's about witches or casters. There is a beautiful, well-developed love story in this book. Ethan Waite is the main character. He's strong and brave and true and a gentleman, and the love fest in here isn't disgusting and over the top. It's very subtle. He learns about Lena Duquesne, which is the other main character of the book, through dreams. He slowly becomes her friend, and then it goes from there. There's no sex. There's no hot, like, touchy-feely love fests in this book. It's just, you know, nice kisses. And that's kind of what I want to read sometimes. I don't want to have the main characters attack each other and like play tonsil hockey. It's like, that's cool sometimes, but not everyone is like that, and some people like taking it slow. And I was extremely pleased that Ethan wasn't all about, I want to get in her pants. He was very well-mannered and behaved, and I loved the magic aspect of this story, the dark and the light. There was no, like, cliche, like, teen angst in this book like you usually find in YA. The main character, Lena Duquesne, she had a legitimate reason to be moody because on her 16th birthday, she would be going through a transformation that she was terrified of. And it wasn't like, oh, nobody likes me at school because I'm not popular, or Ethan might be cheating on me. There was none of that, you know, crap. It was brilliant. And I cannot wait to finish this series. I have books 2, which you can see there's book 2, and I also have book 4. I just need to buy book 3. So many good feels. I mean, I cried in this story. Just the touching moments between Lena and Macon, which is her uncle, and the touching moments between Ethan and Amma, his, I want to say it's like his godmother, but just all beautiful, all great. You know, Ethan has a best friend, and he's really great, and just everybody's great. I loved it. Even the bad people, they were so well developed, and Lena's mom, it just made me angry. But yes, if you haven't read this, one second. Okay, so if you haven't read this book because you've heard mixed reviews or you've heard people say that it was just terrible, I would read it anyway. I mean, judge for yourself. There are a lot of times you'll read a book that everyone raves about and then you won't like it and you're thinking, what did they see in this book? And vice versa. You could love a book and everybody hate it. Now, I absolutely loved this book. Please check it out if you haven't. And don't compare this book to the movie because the movie leaves out everything. Like, the movie is seriously maybe 50 pages of this book. 50. And this book's like 500 something pages. 50 pages is the movie. The rest, every other good thing about the entire series is in the book and not in the movie. So don't base it on the movie. That was long, sorry. The next book that I finished was, finally, Don't You Forget About Me by Kate Curious Quinn. This is the second book that I've read of this author. The first one was Another Little Piece. I gave the first book, her debut novel, 2 stars. I thought it was terrible. And I don't like being like super critical with books, especially since I know that it's really hard to write one, but I just did not like it. Some people did, and that's great, but I didn't like the first book, and I didn't like the second one, which means that I probably won't pick up another book by this author. This book, I don't even know. I'm going to leave all of my Goodreads, you know, written reviews down below like I always do. Check those out when you want to go through these books to find out if you will want to read them or not, because I always talk about them more in depth in the writing than when I am on camera. But basically this book is about a magical town. If you enter this town, whatever sickness or disease that you may have, say you have cancer, you enter this town and your cancer disappears. You also live an extended life. A lot of times the townspeople will live about 150 years, you know, and normally people die around 80, whatever. So it's a magical town, but everything has a price. And so in this town, every 4 years, a couple teenagers will go mad and they will have some kind of tantrum. You know, maybe someone hurt your feelings and you wish that they were squashed like an ant. That would actually happen. They would become tiny like an ant, or they would be smushed by something. So every 4 years, a teenager will become emotionally distraught, and whatever they were thinking at the time will cause havoc. A lot of the times, the peers around them, whether they're adults or teenagers, children, whatever, they will either be seriously injured or killed. And at that point in time, the person, the teenager that had the tantrum will end up going to a reformatory that is up on the hill in this town, and that appeases the magical substance that the town lives off of. So it's kind of like you're feeding some earthly magic or whatever with the people, like you're giving them up in order to live for a very long time and stay healthy. That plot alone is what that's why I wanted to read this book. It sounded very intriguing, so interesting, you know, a town that takes people's life force, to help others live and not be sick. That's great. But it's not about that. It's about, I mean, it is in a way, but the main character drives me crazy. I just can't stand her. And because I never can remember her name because I hate her so much. Her name's Skylar. Skylar, when you meet her in the beginning, she is a drug addict. She's addicted to these things called forget-me-nots, which is a pill that has been manufactured to keep her and other people in the town docile and obedient. I mean, it basically makes you comatose. You take the pill, you black out, and you sleep. And everything that you have not wanted to reflect on, you forget. So she keeps herself in this haze for years because she doesn't want to remember what happened to her sister 4 years ago. And her sister was one of those tantrum teenagers that had a great outburst, and then she was sent to the reformatory. And so Skylar's really upset about that, and she just wants to forget that it happened and have everything go back the way it used to be, but obviously that can't be the case. And so basically it's just her story. The book is broken up by, if you can see that, it says Total Eclipse of the Heart. This isn't chapter 1, this is a flashback. So it says 4 years ago. And basically you have the chapters which talk about the present day Skylar and what she's doing in her purple haze. And then you have the flashbacks, which are 80s themed. They're going to be 80s songs, like hit songs for every title. And then it has something to do with the actual flashback. And I liked that aspect too. I really liked reading 80s titles, and I liked the fact that they were broken up by chapters and then the flashbacks. That didn't bug me. And then also the flashbacks aren't in chronological order. They jump around. So sometimes it'll be 4 years, sometimes it'll be 8 years, then it'll go back to 4 years. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of like what Skylar is thinking of at the time. And also the flashbacks are written in kind of like a diary form. Skylar is talking to her sister, Piper. And so she's like, it's almost like she's saying it to her sister, but her sister's not there. And so I don't know. So the whole, like the plot and the way the story is put together is a 3-star. I enjoyed that part. But again, I told you, I don't like Skylar. She is whiny and a drug addict, and she's not a strong character. Even when her sister was with her, she just followed her around. There is a magical, like, what is it? Skylar can read people's minds, and so there's that aspect. Sorry, my eye's itchy. But, like, none of the characters were good. None of them were fully developed. They all felt like I was watching a puppet show. Does that make sense? Like, each character was just one, like it was one-sided. Cardboard. They weren't 3D people. It was, I hated it. I don't want to be like evil about it, but I did not like this story one bit. So I gave it a 2. I gave it a 2 for trying. The next 2 books that I read were graphic novels, and I had to fill up my my Goodreads goal a little bit because I didn't read very many books this month. And so I read Haruki Murakami's The Strange Library. I've heard a couple people read this and talk about this on BookTube, and so I wanted to try it myself, and it is very, very weird. This particular book isn't like the ones that some of the other booktubers have shown. They have the hardback cover with like a one of those things you pull out where the librarian stamps to see if you turned in your book on time on the cover, and it's pink. But this is the paperback version, and I got this from my library. And the pictures are very, you know, they're like prints that kind of, it goes with the story for the most part, but it's not identical to what's happening in the story. It's kind of like, and this is what I said in my my review on Goodreads, Ransom Riggs, when he first decided to write the Peculiar Children books, the first one, he had the pictures and he wrote the story around the pictures, and then in the second book, he wrote the story and found pictures that kind of matched what he was writing. That's what I felt like in this book here. All the pictures are like prints from either ads or whatever that was already out in the world, and then Murakami just took those pictures and kind of wrote a little story about it. And basically this book is about a little boy who goes to the library, goes to check out some books. The librarian tells him to go to room 107, and he meets a very old man in there, and then the weirdness starts to happen. It was okay. I gave it a 3-star. I liked the weirdness of the book, but it wasn't fully, I mean, there was a beginning, a middle, and an end, but I kind of wanted more. And because it's such a tiny little book, I guess you could call it a graphic novel novella, maybe. I don't know. It's a really short story. It only takes place over 3 days, and then it's over. And, yeah, no strong feelings for the book, but it was a nice little read. And then lastly, I finally finished Volume 4 of the Lock and Key series by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. The first half of this book I didn't like. I thought it was really slow, and I really hate the main villain. I can't think of his name right now, but he's so bad. I mean, he's supposed to be bad, but he's like really, really bad to the point where I get very angry about how bad he is. And then I feel really awful for the kids in this story because they have to deal with him all the time. But then the second half of the book was a lot better. I really enjoyed that. If you like reading graphic novels, and I mean, this is going to be really gory, and you just like blood, like just gory stuff, this is a great graphic novel to read. There's no like, I don't believe there's any nudity, and there's no like sexy times, but there's just a lot of gore and blood, and that's kind of why I wanted to read it. So, finally done with Volume 4. And that was it. I read 7 books total this month, so that's 4 novels and 3 graphic novels, which is, it's okay. I mean, I'm just, you know what, the problem is I'm comparing Missy from this year to Missy from last year. And last year I read about 20 books a month on average, and I thought that was brilliant, but Missy of this year is far too busy to read that many books, and so I just have to come to terms that I won't be reading 180 books this year, which is fine. As long as I'm reading and loving what I'm reading, then it's all good. And that is my wrap up for March. I'm going to be filming my TBR for April in just a second, but thanks for watching. I hope you guys read everything that you wanted to read this month, and you are having a wonderful week. It's hump day. It's Wednesday, so the week's almost over, which makes me sad because then that means spring break's almost over, and then I'll have to go back to work next Monday. Boo. That's it. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. I will talk to you soon.